You're listening to Head Voice, bringing you inside the minds of the best in contemporary a cappella. I'm Evan.
And I'm Kayla. And this week, our guests are ourselves. We figured we're 34 episodes into doing this. We've been doing this since February, and a lot of y'all don't even know what we look like, what our last names are. You just know our voices, and so we figured, get to know us. Let's do an episode about us.
We're only 25% robot. Maybe.
I think I'm a little bit more robot. You guys have heard my voice enough to know that I'm an artificially created person.
You are manufactured.
And so we asked you guys to send in any questions that you might have. A lot of it was just our friends sending in some questions, but we also had some listener questions, so we appreciate you all sending those in. We're just going to talk about, one, who we are, where we came from, two, answer some questions, and then three, we'll talk about a cappella, because that's why we're all here, isn't it? Kayla, do you wanna give me a little introduction on yourself and how you got started in music?
Hi, Evan. It's so nice to meet you. I'm glad that we're finally meeting. So I am from Long Island, New York, the state of Long Island, because it's another world. I grew up singing. I fell in love with a cappella when I was in high school, and I joined the Multicolored Tights. I think I could say that I peaked when I was in the Multicolored Tights, and I had these nice, bright, signature pink paisley tights that I wore in that group. So those are very special and near and dear to my heart.
Are they?
Yeah, I still have them somewhere.
Okay,
I think they're at home in Long Island. But high school, started singing in a cappella, went to college, went to BU, joined the BU Troublemakers. That was a big part of my college career. And now since I've graduated, I'm in Birdland Avenue. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Evan, but I'm in this group called Birdland Avenue. And I'm co-host of a podcast. And yeah, that's me. Evan, would you like to give us a little introduction?
Sure. I was born May 30th, 1996. Oh, that's not the right year. 1994. I was born in San Francisco, and I kind of always had music in my system. I played piano for a long time when I was like 4 to 8th grade, and then I was in band in high school and played in some bands, and then my senior year I joined choir because it was a lot more fun than band, and I did vocal jazz, and my first experience with a cappella with the testosterone. Yeah. And where I just stole Straight No Chaser arrangements, and I watched the sing-off and stuff. And I watched the sing-off, and I got obsessed with a cappella then. And I was like, I'm totally going to be in a group in college. And then I got no callbacks for any groups when I got to BU, and then I was sad. But the next year I tried out again, and then I got into the Trebs with Kayla, and then I beatboxed in the group, and then I was music director, and now I'm in Birdland Avenue with Kayla, and I record and arrange and freelance and do that stuff, which I've never said, but so shameless self-plug.
He does those things, and he's good at doing those things, so congrats.
Yeah. And I'm working with Alex Koutsoukas of Plaid Productions as a mentee, so a connection we made on the show. Anyway, so that's enough about me. Music.
So Yang Chen, you had a nice listener question. You asked what were your collegiate what were your collegiate a cappella careers like, and is there anything you wish you did that you didn't get to do? Love that question. Evan, do you want to answer?
Sure.
Sure. Yes.
I think that being in Trebs was probably my most important college experience. Most of my friends that now are from Trebs, and I think it's really important for me. I'm very fortunate that I got in. Our last year we competed in ICCA. We did it in 2013, and we were pretty bad. And we did it again my last year, and we won our quarterfinal, and that was an amazing experience. And we got to go to semifinals, which Trebs had never done before, and we didn't place there. But I guess if there's anything that I wish that we could have done, I would have liked to have gone to finals, but everybody wants to go to finals. And I think just be a bigger part of the a cappella community. It's honestly something that I found more after I graduated than anything, with going to festivals like SoJam and Boss and all this stuff. But I was overall very pleased with the experience, and I'm happy to be continuing being in a group with Birdland. How about you?
Yeah, I would say similar things for me. I mean, for one, being able to go to festivals would have been awesome. I think we got a couple master classes during my senior year, and that, at least for me, was super inspiring. So one thing that I wish could have happened more so would be having more master classes throughout the 4 years, because those were definitely eye-opening and helpful. So if you're in a group and you haven't had a master class, you should check it out, because they're super helpful, and it's always great to get an opinion from someone outside of the group.
Yeah.
So next we're going to talk a little bit about why we started this and what the intention of the show was. Tanvi, hi Tanvi, Tunvi. Tanvi asked, how did the idea of head voice originate and evolve?
That's a great
Evolution.
question.
It was the Darwin evolution.
It was, I had the idea for a while. I think like around last October or so I had the idea, and I was never like a super avid podcast listener, but there's like a few that I listened to a lot. Listened to one called The Bearded Vegans, which talks about vegan issues. And my favorite ones are probably You Made It Weird by Pete Holmes, and this one called Song Exploder, which if you guys are into music, you should listen to Song Exploder. They like deconstruct songs with the artist and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so I was listening to those, and I was like, why are there no acapella podcasts out right now? And I looked up if there were any, and there weren't really. There were some back in the day. There was the Mouth Off podcast which Chris Diaz did, but there's nobody really doing it right now. And Kayla and I were working on music and stuff, and I was like, I'm a person who likes to like have a lot of different projects going at the same time, and they often end up unfinished. And I knew that Kayla had like the foresight and like the ability to plan and do logistics stuff with me, and we both were talking a lot about acapella, and so it kind of seemed like a natural thing to like do the podcast. And then I quit my job, and I really needed something to do, and head voice was like the natural thing. So yeah, I think it's just like I really wanted to, like, as soon as I started to like make connections in the acapella community closer to the end of our Trebs career, I feel like our music started to get so much better. So I just wanted to put these amazing people like in the listeners' hands if they wanted. It's like something I wanted to hear what I wish I could have heard as music director my freshman year, like sophomore year doing terrible arrangements and stuff. Like I wanted to hear how Shams and Matt Goldstein and all these people were doing stuff. So yeah, that was a super long-winded way to answer that.
Great answer, Evan. Retweet all that. I've never said that before out loud. It doesn't feel right to say that. I'm not a retweeter. I don't use Twitter. Okay. Yeah, I mean, when Evan pitched the idea to me, I was super on board and gung-ho about it. So was very excited to start doing it with him. And I think over time, it's definitely evolved in many different ways. At least in the beginning, we were kind of making it a little bit more interviewy, but in the progression of the show, we've kind of like to lean more on what the guests want to talk about and what they're truly passionate about. So we've definitely tried to push that a little bit more and strive to kind of see or talk more about the background of each guest, because it's super interesting to both of us just to see why people even started, where like their passion for music came from in the first place, so, and what brought them to acapella. So that's always awesome to hear. So that's kind of how it's evolved. So Luke Daly, hi Luke, he asks, what are the pros and cons of encouraging groups to compete with one another? Which is a good question. Evan, if you have thoughts.
Yeah, so I mean, I think obviously we want this podcast to be about all facets of acapella and vocal music, not just scholastic stuff. But I mean, we were both recently in school, and we just watched a scholastic competition this weekend, and so that's obviously a big focus in acapella's competition. And so I obviously think it's not obviously. I think it's an important thing for groups to do, because I think it pushes you. It gives you a deadline to do something. It gives you a reason to show people something, and it gives you a stage, to share your music. So I think that's super important. And if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably competed or are trying to compete. So I think that's good. I think just something to be careful for, to watch out for when you're competing or getting ready to compete is, I think that there's such a desire for so many groups, like, the ones I've been in, to win, that sometimes you can feel like you have to lean on what you've seen other groups do and see what works for them, and then you just try to like copy that. And I think ultimately you can be so much more successful if you totally like look at what other groups are doing and stuff, but see that and then be like, so they're doing all this, what isn't being done, and try to like fill that hole instead. Like, I think competition's an incredible stage to put together 3 to 4 songs where you can tell your group's unique story. It doesn't have to be it can be like Vaster Devils and super artsy and whatever. It can be like Pitch Slapped and just like this fun thing. Like, it literally does not matter. Just try to do something that's unique to what your group is capable of doing. Show off your best soloist, show off your best talent. If you're good at choreo, do choreo. If you're not good at choreo, don't do choreo. Like, literally just like use it as an opportunity to show who you are, because I think people respond to that. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're working on stuff and like you can make something that makes you feel really good in the moment if you're kind of doing something that's more imitative, but I think you're going to feel a lot better 5 years down the line if you did something that was like true to who you are, even if it maybe wasn't like, even if it didn't win or whatever, like you'll know that you were representing yourself and your group and your friends at the time that you were competing. So
I would agree with that. I think the biggest pro obviously is that it kind of puts you on a timeline and forces you to create something, which means you're actively using your brain and like working towards a goal, which obviously is a great thing to push you forward. Cons, I think if you don't win or if you're not recognized in any way, you almost feel like the effort you put in sometimes was maybe not worth it. And so I think that if you do put a set together or you have created this work of art for a certain competition, it doesn't mean that that's the only place where that work of art can live. I think if you can get a video of it, get a video and get it out there. If you can perform it in other mediums, on other stages, do it, because you work so hard on something. And even if it wasn't recognized in comparison to other groups during a competition, it can still be appreciated in other mediums. So don't just let the end of the competition be the end of the thing that you had created. Totally.
Like, I mean, for us in our group at the end of Trebs, like, we didn't get the result that we wanted at semifinals, but then we were like, hey, let's just record this EP and put it out there for people to, to see what we worked so hard on. And I think that really was worth it for us. If you're doing ICCA, please have somebody in the audience with the DSLR, because it sucks that like they can't have video for you. So like it's really important, if you're not gonna like do a like a pitch slap thing and record after, or Devils and record after, then get somebody to record it in good quality in the audience, because you're gonna want to see that. It's gonna be a special moment.
If anything, you'll have that video for yourself and you can show your little grandchildren and you can be like, I sang on a stage and put this thing together,
and they're gonna be like, you're lame, grandpa.
You're a lame, grandpa.
So we have another question from Tanvi, which is kind of into this next segment. It's kind of like a reflection on everything that we've done so far. And Tanvi asks, what is the most valuable insight you've gained through doing Head Voice? We've
had a ton of guests on, and each kind of has a unique perspective to his or her own experience, which is super awesome to like hear everyone's view and their experiences. But for me, there's been some standout moments. Ben McLean was a great episode for me, because he talked a lot about being a young person and trying to figure out what you want to do. And right now, I think we're both kind of up in the air in what we want to do. And he made a good point that if you are passionate about one thing, you should see it through to the end and really see how far you can take yourself with a certain item or thing that you want to achieve. So that was really awesome.
And not be afraid to like fail with it too.
Do you want to add to that?
No, that's all I wanted to add.
Okay. During Erin's episode, she talked about prosody. Erin Bentlage. Prosody, which is kind of the matchmaking between lyrics and music and songwriting. So that's something that I kind of held on to. And I think it's a great tip to try to match the lyrics to the tone and all the other elements that you're trying to achieve or perform, making sure they're all in sync and kind of line up together to achieve a greater goal of whatever emotion or intention you're trying to get to. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a theme throughout all the episodes that we've done. I think we've talked to a lot of, as our tagline would imply, some of the best people in this community. And there's a lot that we've yet to talk to. But with all these people, the theme for me is that they're pulling from their experiences to make the art, the music, the arrangements, the choreography that is like true to them or whatever. As like cheesy as that sounds, like, Shams or Elliot from Nor'easters are like taking their like cinematic film scoring thing and putting it into their art, and like not being like, I have to do acapella, so I have to do this thing, or Tracy Robertson like using all these like world influences and jazz to like go into his music. Like, I don't know, just like embrace whatever it is that you do, whether it's your culture or the music that you played in high school or whatever it is like that you have. Just, I think that for me was super important, because I think sometimes we can get hung up on like, that chord was out of tune. But like, if you're coming at it from a place of, this chorus of this song means this to me because I, something happened in my family and this means that, it just means so much more. So I don't know. That's kind of a non-answer, but that'd be my answer to that question.
So we had some questions about sort of the current state of acapella in a way, and Nor Follower, you asked if we had any personal favorite groups.
That's a good question, but for me right now, the groups that I'm vibing to are on the Scholastic level, Pitch Slapped, obviously, and then we just saw Gestalt perform at SoJam, and I was super into what they were doing. So those are just the ones that are on my mind. And then non-Scholastic, we also just saw Aurora, so they've always been on my mind, but especially right now with their new EP, Vocalite. I'm like wishing the best for them to explode, and I want them to do all the things. Don't explode. I mean, stay intact.
Shoot to the stars.
And then there's this beatbox group that's technically a cappella called Berry Wom, that if you're like into electronic, I don't know, if you like acapella, I think you'd like Berry Wom. So I'm into them too right now.
We like most of the same things, so I like all those things too. So I'm just gonna put that out there. And I mean, yeah, Aurora has been a staple for me for a while now, and I think they're definitely still going strong. They are working on their new EP, and we got to hear some demos of it from SoJam, and I've been having that on repeat for the past 3 days. So that's really awesome to see that they're still being innovative and creating new music. And then for me, not a cappella group, but Julia Easterlin has always been a point of inspiration for me. She's very talented. If you haven't seen her looping videos, they're unique and not so much in the traditional a cappella vein, but definitely special in just captivating when you're watching them. So
it's good that you bring that up, because we've made a little playlist of a lot of stuff that we like to listen to. A lot of stuff, I don't know if y'all can tell by now, but we kind of like stuff that's like right on the fringes of acapella, that's vocally based, but maybe not what we think of when we think of contemporary acapella. So we put together a little playlist that we have on Spotify and YouTube. So we'll link that in the show notes if you guys want to check that out. Feel free, if you want to add stuff in there, go ahead. We'd welcome that. Our friend Ricky asks,
hi.
He asks, pick 5 non-acapella artists to form an acapella supergroup. And then who would they be? What's the group?
Okay. Mine doesn't like, it's not very cohesive. These are just like people that I like. So I just gonna. So Nia Palm, if you don't know who that is, she's a lead singer of Hiatus Coyote, and she's kind of doing her own solo thing right now. So having her unique voice in a group would be awesome. Sorrow, he's a beatboxer from France. He could do all the, you know, like perking and looping stuff. He can handle all that situation. Moses Sumney, so he has this beautiful falsetto, and he does a lot of percussive vocal based music. So want him in there. And then I was like, who else? So I put Sarah Bareilles and Ingrid Michaelson in here too, just because I really like their voices, and I feel like because everyone else is like very like specific, they'd be a nice balance to of round it out.
That'd be a crazy group.
Yeah, it'd be a group for sure.
I was like, should I just put like all the people that I like into a group, like Kayla? But I was like, no, I'm gonna come up with a better answer than that. No, I'm just kidding. I just was trying to think of like a group that if I put them together, that they could make like some cohesive stuff and actually do a cappella. So I was thinking, like every freaking a cappella person out there, I love Third Story. So the three guys from Third Story I'd have.
Okay.
And then
we already know that works. Anyway, continue.
No, but it's not a cappella.
Okay.
And then Us the Duo, they've like toured with Pentatonics.
Oh, that's great.
Because the guy Michael beatboxes and stuff, and then like Elliot can like sing bass if necessary, but like they don't really have to. And then Carissa can do like the female lead. I don't know. I think
that's
it'd be
awesome.
Great. Yeah.
Once you're a renowned producer, you can just kind of like bring them together and make that happen.
Yeah, when people stop, like put down their instruments to do a cappella, they'll definitely do that.
So Giovanni asked, who is the one person you would love to have on the show but haven't yet? Do you have an answer for that?
Well, actually, my answer would be Moses Sumney, who you just mentioned, because I've always been a strange person, but I've like been super obsessed with
Weird.
I mean, yeah, with just like watching interviews of people lately, and just the people that I find fascinating. I could like read interviews and just hear them talk forever, which is why I do this podcast. But I've read a few of Moses's, and his mind just works in a super interesting way that I feel like I could just pick at it for hours and it wouldn't stop. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully at one point someday we'd love to like expand the range of this show to, you know, include people that don't do strict contemporary a cappella. So I'd love to get Moses on there.
And yeah, so I have a similar answer. I didn't have a specific person, but I was just thinking more people who aren't in the like within the typical a cappella stratosphere. So people like Julia and Easterlin, someone like Sorrow, who like live in this other realm of vocal and percussive music. That would be really awesome to have one of them on. Totally. Yeah.
And then we have another question also from Luke, which is what do you think is missing from the sound of the a cappella world today? And then we're also going to ask ourselves the questions that we ask at the end of every episode, where like what trends are we excited by and what are we into? What are we hoping to see and stuff?
I can answer the Luke question first. So I think a big thing for me is that I feel like most a cappella groups don't necessarily have singers who have very distinct voices. So my hope for the future, or something that I think is missing, is more cohesive members in groups that have distinct styles and have unique tones to their voices. This way, when they do come together, it's like you can recognize each voice different from the other. Can
I build off of that too? I think something that I'd like to see is just groups getting smaller kind of across the board. Like Scholastic or Pro, like it doesn't matter, but just I think you can get more of that distinct flavor when you have fewer voices. They're just on my mind and we're interviewing them tomorrow, but like Gestalt that we just saw, I think was like 12-ish people, which to me is like 10, 12, 9 even, that range for collegiate. Like do it up, because then like you can like there's so much less to focus on stage, and I just love being able to like to feel like it's a band, because that's that's what we're into.
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. And then what trends am I excited by? So this past weekend we were at So Jam, and Key Harmony did this really, really cool sort of step body perk thing, which I really haven't seen much of. And I think groups are kind of scared of step and body perk because obviously there's issues with mics and whatnot. But for me, that's a trend that I'd like to see more of, even if it's simple clapping or some sort of body noises in a way that can like incorporate the whole group. Take Six did a little bit of clapping that was like fun to watch and fun to see them just work in sync like that. So yeah, I think like body perk and more movement in that essence would be cool to see.
Yeah, and I think oh man, it's hard to answer this question concisely, but I think as I said earlier, I really want to see groups embrace whatever it is that they're into. And on the one hand, I'd like to see groups make music that's more challenging for the listener, even if that comes at the cost of, not necessarily placing in every competition or whatever. Like, I think acapella is so niche anyway. Like, for the most part, if you're in collegiate, even if you're semi-pro, like, you're not competing with the people on the radio. So why try to be those people? Just like do whatever music you like. Like, yes, you should have an Ariana Grande song in your set, but not every song has to be that. And I think that groups should give themselves the license to do music that they all collectively love, even if it's not something that their audience is going to respond to immediately. I think they will if they give it a shot. And then I've been kind of hearing this from a lot of the veterans in the acapella community, that they want to see more happy and like fun music.
More happy.
And look, I like agree with that on the one hand. I think it's like you can do emotional content that like still makes you happy. Like I don't know, like Third Story is I guess on my mind. So like I think you could take any of the songs off of their album and like they're all feelsy, but like it still like makes you feel good or whatever. So I think I would say maybe just more exploration of major chords and like not all minor chords. But I will also say, in defense of young people, there's like this kind of like anti-angst thing that's out there right now from the older folks in acapella. And if you're in college, you feel angst, okay? I'm out of college and I'm still feeling the angst. Like, it's a tough time in your life. You don't have it figured out. So
there's
like
angst radiating from your hair right now. You're such an angsty human. Angst.
But like if you're gonna do that, just like fully do it. Like if you're gonna do an emo song, like you figure out how to tap into that in like a non-artificial way. Because I think it's all legitimate as long as you legitimately feel it. So I guess that's what I want to see. Also hip hop and jazz.
Cool. So we have one more question, and this is a very, very hard musical difficult question to answer.
I'm getting ready.
Evan is crying. He's like really thinking about it. Okay. So Haley Castuera, she asked, what is your favorite pasta? And
I can't believe that question was asked.
How?
I can only speak for myself. I mean, it's tough to talk about it. Because there's two pastas in my life right now that I really gravitate towards. I'm really not feeling the empathy from Kayla on this one, but
I'm sorry.
You know, if we're gonna go traditional Western Hemisphere pasta, it's gonna have to be a little ravioli. You know what?
Just a little.
No, actually a big old ravioli. My problem is the portion sizes are too small at the restaurant, okay? Give me like 10, not 5. And then on the other side, I love soba noodles.
Oh,
yes, I could eat a soba noodle every day.
Mom.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
What's your answer?
Mine are orecchiette, and they're like these little.
Hey, Kayla, you Italian?
No, I'm not. Not even a little.
She is Italian.
They're so freaking good. They're like these little like round little guys, and it actually means little ears. They like kind of look like little ears a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm saying little a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but they're very good. and I kind of want to eat them right now. So yeah, that's my musical inspiration is Requiete, I have to say.
Is that our new band name?
Yes.
But thank you for listening. If you did today, hearing us blather about all the stuff that we did. Thank you to all the guests that have ever come on the show, because it wouldn't be possible without them. And, we've got a lot of cool stuff planned coming up. We've got great guests. We're hoping to do some different stuff with the show format. And if you have anything that you want to see, if you have anything that we could do better, please don't hesitate to message us on any of the social media stuff. We'll talk to you. I'll give you my phone number if you want. I don't care.
I'll give you his phone number too. You can text him. That's fine with me.
Do you want to close us out, Kayla?
Yeah, and that's it for today. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you join us for a next episode. You are going to join us. What are these words? I hope you join us next week for a new episode of Head Voice. Woo!